So it's nearing the end of summer 8, my first summer semester. I have my DiffyQ. Are you done focusing? You stupid camera. I have my last DiffyQ exam Friday. Today's Wednesday. And I'm on track to get a high C or a low B, which is fantastic. And then in summer B, I'll have 2 classes, both of which are like humanities, elective type things. So no math for 6 weeks. I've always been like really on the fence. I've talked about it here and there over the years about whether or not I want to do grad school, about whether or not I love math that much, and whether or not I'd be able to hack it in grad school, or whether or not I would even be able to get into a graduate school somewhere. But lately, probably within the last, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks, that's something that's been kind of not nagging me, but it's been kind of a little voice in my head. I was like, well, what if you did it? What if you just like, just like think about it? What do you how could that go? Maybe is it feasible? Is it, what would you do? Where would you go? So I've been thinking about it a little bit, and ironically, I got an email 4 days ago from the University of West Florida, which was like, hey, we have a master's program in math and it's online, baby. And I was like, oh shit. Because that's been a really big sticking point for me, is if I, a year from now, my wife's going to be in grad school, and that's going to take her 3 to 5 years. I'm sorry, not grad school, her PhD program. Well, I guess technically grad school, but to be specific, her PhD program. That's going to take her 3 to 5 years. And we can't both go back to being students at the same time. That was too expensive, went into too much debt for that, not feasible. So I kind of decided that if I do go to grad school, it's got to be online. Even if it takes longer, even if I can only do 1 class at a time or whatever, it would have to be online part-time, or at least part-time. I don't know. It can't be full-time ultimately, because I'm gonna have to work. And that was like the major sticking point more than anything, because you just can't go back to being as broke as we were. It's just not doable. And then lo and behold, I get this email, and it's like, oh, all right, maybe I'll look into this. Which is doubly interesting, because University of West Florida is in Pensacola, somewhere in the Panhandle, but ultimately very close to Auburn, which there's a very high likelihood that we'll be going back there. So that's interesting. So if I ever did have to go there in person, it'd be relatively close, probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe. I don't know. It's interesting, but I think the tides have been turning a little bit for me, because I've just, like, for the last 5.5 weeks, I've been nose deep in DiffyQ, which obviously is just computational math. And I have found myself missing abstract math a little bit, and the creativity and like the critical thinking that comes with that, which is obviously a lot more prevalent there than it is in something like DiffyQ, which is just learning how to do something and then doing it 1,000 times, which can be mind-numbing. Which isn't to say DiffyQ isn't important, of course it is, but it's just, not in my not in my wheelhouse right now. I found myself kind of missing that, and I think I enjoy math the most when I am been in the middle of realizing how really complicated things can be expressed in really simple terms, namely when I was deep in topology primarily, and thinking about how that is a really low level, like one of the lowest possible levels of context possible for some mathematical concepts like distance. And I always thought that was really interesting, that we could do that, and then we could go all the way to the bottom, the bedrock and the foundation, and then build up from there to whatever we wanted. And that's always the stuff that I caught myself thinking about like when I wasn't in class or when I was doing other stuff and doing menial things like mowing the lawn. Like, wow, that's interesting. That really itches my brain in like just the right way. I think ultimately going to grad school would be an attempt to get some more of that, because I'll get a little bit more in fall semester, but only in the form of 2 classes, one of which is differential geometry, and the other one is numerical analysis, which as far as I'm concerned is kind of like a proof-based course for calculus, so proving stuff like intermediate value theorem and things. So I'm looking forward to those for that respect, but I think I would just like to take it even further, because there are some mathematical topics like category theory that I'd like to get introduced to and get my feet wet in, and something like that I think is very difficult to do on your own, like outside of a classroom setting. There's that. So ultimately I mainly just want to get back to, you know, how foundational can math get? Is it in the form of topologies? Is it in the form of functors in category theory? Is it what? Is it in the form of groups in algebra? Like, I want to know. I don't know why that's interesting to me, but it is. And of course, obviously, a beneficial side effect of grad school is, you know, being more competitive for the job market and being worth more when I get out. But that's just, for me, that's just a side effect. And ultimately, I just want to learn some more. But I have to come to Jesus about whether wanting to learn more is worth the time, the effort, potentially the money, and all the pain and struggle that's going to come with it, because I'm not great at math, and then, you know, it's going to be an uphill battle from day one until the last day, till graduation. And then I've also kind of decided that I'm not going to consider grad school, which is going to be very, very difficult, unless I can pull a 3.5 or a 4.0 out of my final semester, which will be 5 classes. 3 of which will be math, 2 of which will be abstract math. And that's for 2 reasons. One, it'll give me a respectable GPA, which I feel like I may be able to get into a graduate program with. And 2, it'll let me know that I'm capable of taking 5 challenging classes at one time and succeeding at all of them, and knowing that I will be up to the task of just being swamped with hard work, because I've done hard work in the form of abstract math, and I've been swamped with work, but I've never been swamped with a bunch of math classes at one time. So I think at that point I'll know that I'm at least mentally ready for grad school. I know that I will have the drive to do it, and then I'll have to worry about logistics and money and time and location. You know, those will be secondary things. So I just thought I'd share that. I've been on the fence about grad school for a long time. Not so much whether or not it would be interesting, but whether or not I'd be able to hack it, and whether or not I wanted it bad enough, wanted to learn some more math badly enough to struggle through, you know, a 2 or 3 year graduate program. So I don't know, just thought I'd share my thoughts, but thanks for watching. See you next time.